Yeah.
You guys should tell the story about how you guys met. That's cool.
Well, yeah. So we started junior high, and it was like right after the first day of school, wasn't it? It was like just a few days into school.
I just remember it was, well, maybe it wasn't August, but I remember it was August or September, and that's when we started school. So
Yeah. And Destiny's Child came to the fairgrounds here in the AV, which means that Beyonce was here in the AV.
Yep. And Kelly and Michelle.
All three of them. But Beyonce was here in the AV. And
wild.
And we went to the concert, and Janelle and her mom happened to be just one row behind me.
I was like, hey, are you that girl? Are you that girl at school? And we had just met. Like,
yeah.
I think maybe had like a couple classes here or there together, and then saw each other Destiny's Child, and then we were friends.
And then we were friends.
That was 23 years ago.
Hell yeah.
23 years ago.
That's crazy. That's...
Yeah, and that's how we became best friends.
Destiny's Child creates besties.
Welcome to the Siren Songbook, a podcast where we discuss female artists, their music, their history, and the impact they've made on the music industry. Join us each month as we pick a new inspirational artist and celebrate exactly what it is that makes them so magical. Hey everyone, welcome to the third episode of Siren Songbook. I am Amy.
I'm Casey.
And we have a special guest today.
Hey, I'm Janelle.
And we are going to be talking about the one and only Beyoncé today.
Beyonce!
It is Beyoncé Day. She has her new album coming out at the end of the month. I cannot wait for it. I am so excited. Mm-hmm. And so I figured what better month to talk about Beyoncé than right before she comes out with a country album.
Yes!
Texas.
So, yeah. And I chose her? Yeah, I chose her last month.
You did.
I chose her last month. It was a good choice.
Yes. Yes,
I've had so much fun watching her videos, her concerts, her movies over the last month. It's been great. I rewatched Dreamgirls.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Dreamgirls.
It's been a really fun month. And so, yeah, we're going to jump into her history. We're going to jump into her music, of course. So, do you want to start us off, Casey? Because I know that you have 11 pages front and back.
Which is not, and you know, honestly, with 11 pages, I do feel like I'm underprepared.
As I sit here with nothing in my lap.
Dude. So, we're going to be talking about Beyonce specifically. What she was able to accomplish with Destiny's Child was, you know, unprecedented as it was. And also the career that she had would not have been possible without Destiny's Child.
Yeah.
So after they released the album Survivor in 2001, Matthew Knowles, her father and the manager of Destiny's Child, had this idea that all three members would release solo albums as a way to kind of like market Destiny's Child to be even bigger. And that way when they came back, they would have this superstardom that no other girl group had ever had before.
That worked well.
That worked so well. The first person to release an album was Michelle Williams, and it had some sort of success. Kelly Rowland collaborates with Nelly to do Dilemma, and ends up being a #1 hit single. And so the label decides that even though Beyonce's supposed to go next in terms of album rollout, that they were going to push her back and release Kelly Rowland's album first. So her album comes out just a little bit beforehand. You know, at first Beyonce's a little upset about that, but realizes that she has even more time to make her first splash as a solo artist like really count. And the reason why they decided to finally go ahead with the album release was Beyonce collaborates with JC. I'm thinking about NSYNC coming back, dude. Yeah. Oh my God, did you see the footage of that? Woo!
I did.
JC Chavez. Anyway.
Well, we know who Casey's favorite was.
Oh, yeah. Fuck Justin, dude. He stole what JC could have had. Anyway, so Beyonce then collaborates with rapper Jay-Z on '03 Bonnie and Clyde, which peaks at number 4 on Billboard and paves the way for her to release her debut, Dangerously in Love. Beyonce took on the role of executive producer and co-writer of a majority of the songs. She had a vision from the beginning. She was ready to make her statement. She even held interviews with prospective producers and collaborators extensively before even going into the studio because she had a vision and wanted to see it through and made sure that the people that she brought on could also bring that vision to life.
You can totally tell, even in Survivor a little bit. I feel
Yeah.
like I was talking to Leo and I was like, Survivor was kind of Beyonce album 1 for me.
Yes.
Because you can
Yes.
hear the Beyonce
true.
sound in it.
Mm-hmm. After all of the sadness and blindness. Yeah, I feel like that. You're so right. Like it's that bridge in that song, especially.
Dude.
Beyonce has arrived.
She has.
Sasha Fierce.
You could not keep her back at all. She really wanted to take her time and put out the best album she could. And because this album was postponed by the label in favor of Kelly Rowland's, Beyonce chose to capitalize on the extra time to fine tune what she had. While she did not create beats and play instruments, she would create melodies to convey ideas and would give many thoughts and notes on mixing and mastering. So ultimately, with all of the collaborations and co-writing she did for the album, Dangerously in Love the session as a whole, had 43 songs that needed to be narrowed down to 15, which is so crazy. Like,
Wow.
yeah,
And I read too that she was going to come up with a follow-up album that had
all of the ones that didn't make
that
it.
didn't
Yeah.
make it.
Which is nuts. It's meant, the concept of this album was meant to encompass the life cycle of a relationship with the celebration of love and the separation that can happen when you're in the wrong one. But she really, really liked the song Dangerously in Love from the Survivor album of Destiny's Child and thought that it deserved more light. So she ended up re-recording the song and adding it to her Dangerously in Love album, calling it Dangerously in Love 2. It's so cool. Yeah, but the overall lyrical theme of this album is love. And she was rumored to be in a budding relationship with Jay-Z, which would later be confirmed to be true. But most of the lyrics on the album are vague enough that they could have been about anyone except Signs, which contains a lyric about being in love with a Sagittarius, which Jay-Z is. And then also Gift from Virgo is another song that attributes to the zodiac and seems to be a beautifully written ode to Jay. But I mean, if you're a fan of Beyonce, you know how much she is very proud to be a Virgo and that astrology is like a huge thing in her life.
There's something.
Oh yeah, her birthday and Jay-Z's birthday are both the fourth day of the month, and they're married on the 4th day of a month, and they have other friends and family that are also born on the 4th. So 4 is a big number for them too.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the albums. And
Yeah. It's so sick. As crazy as it sounds, her label almost decided to shelve the album because they felt there wasn't a single hit. When she played it for them before they released it, literally the A&R representatives were like, this is hot ass. There's no, which is nuts.
Insane.
It's actually
Because
nuts.
to this day, Crazy in Love is a lot of her shows open with that, or as soon as that first beat comes in for that, those first few notes, everybody's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's still on her most popular on her
Yeah.
Spotify.
Yeah.
It's number 2 right now, but that's just because Texas Hold'em was released, and
Yeah.
so before you know it, it'll be probably back at 1.
Which is crazy. I mean, they were right. She didn't have one hit because she had 5.
Yes.
Pew, pew, pew. Crazy in Love went straight to number 1 just by airplay alone, not by album sales, not by single sales. It was just intoxicating. It spent 8 weeks at the top of the Billboard charts and was the most downloaded song in the United States for 4 consecutive weeks. It was the certified sextuple platinum, by the way, which is 7 million, and won 2 Grammys for Best Rap Song or Best R&B Song and Best Rap Song Collaboration. So from the beginning, Beyonce has understood her vision and has been laser focused on achieving it.
For sure. It's she goes in and she goes hard and she knows exactly what she wants. And
Yeah.
yeah, that song is Beyonce.
Dude.
Crazy in Love.
Yes.
And it's you could hear that in so much that she does, but yet it's so different.
It's I mean, they did not expect
Like repeated, regurgitated,
no,
it's
not at all.
Still fresh and like, what? Okay, anyway.
Dude, yeah, no, I mean, like, what's crazy is, like, so, yeah, she wanted to release a second album that was a follow-up of all, like, the B-sides that didn't make it onto the cut, but it ended up getting shelved in favor of Destiny's Child, or next album, which ended up becoming their final album.
Yeah, they announced they were disbanding. They did their tour.
You're like, well,
Beyonce was a clear, like, we could not stop that star from rising.
Beyonce needs to go do her thing.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I had mentioned I watched their final tour. They did this album, and then McDonald's sponsored their world tour.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I also did not know that.
It was called I think Destiny Fulfilled, and We're Loving It.
Oh. Wow.
The whole concert was cringe. It sounds bad to say, but the whole concert was cringe. They didn't sing a lot of their songs. The whole beginning was just like recorded, and they were just like talking and kind of singing parts over it, but it wasn't really like them singing a lot of it. And then they had these weird like male dancers. At one point they were introducing them. The girls weren't even on a stage at this point. And this one guy like steps up and just like drops his pants and just stands there.
Oh.
And I was like,
All right.
okay. And then my favorite part was they're singing, I forget what song it was, but they started out, they pick 3 guys from the audience, they have them come sit down, and then they say, if you want to keep your man, you got to cater to your man. And then they continue to give them some weird kind of lap dance type thing while they sing to them. This is the same girl who a few years later wrote Lemonade.
Yes. I mean, that I will feel like it's probably like a manager's choice. I wouldn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Right. Do you think, like, that's so true? Was it whose idea was this?
yeah.
I don't think it was their... It could have, and I've seen the growth, and even in her documentaries, Beyonce talks about how she's 40 now and she doesn't give a fuck what people think.
Amen.
And it's that growth of like learning to, you don't have to cater to the men.
Yeah.
Like,
Dude. I mean, another thing that's really interesting too, and part of the delay of her second album was not just, Destiny's Child releasing their final album, fulfilling their tour contract, and kind of calling it quits. She also was becoming a budding acting star, and at the time had to take time off to film Dreamgirls. And I think prior to her releasing her first album, had just done Austin Powers Goldmember, which... Dude, oh my God, she was so beautiful in that.
she's so gorgeous. She's
dude.
hot. I'm so...
Just any decade, just throw her in something.
Dude, she did so in that
I'm
in between.
so attracted to her. It's
I know.
ridiculous.
She did Dreamgirls. She also did Pink Panther, and I wanted to bring up Pink Panther specifically because I was obsessed with that movie as a kid, and I had the DVD. And in the DVD main menu for the young kids, DVDs used to have like a little menu where you could play the movie or look at deleted scenes. And then they had a music video for a song that she had done for the movie, kind of. Not really. Oh, you're looking like just me. Want to come over and check up on it? I don't let you check up on it. I literally, so Check Up On It was an option, just the music video, and it's all in pink, just like Pink Panther. I fucking watched that over and over and over again. I would just wake up and I wouldn't even watch the movie. I would just watch the music video, like, ha ha ha, again. I was obsessed with it. And I feel like this is kind of where like I start, like me personally, I start to become a Beyonce fan because, I was raised on, like I wasn't allowed to listen to secular music for a long time, but I was introduced to her kind of like, I mean, she was everywhere. Crazy in Love was everywhere. Like there was no way I never heard that song. Like if I was in a department store or something, but like I didn't really know Beyonce until about this era before B-Day comes out. But I just wanted to throw that factoid in there because I literally wrote in my notes, and all all caps, and the Pink Panther. Don't forget that one.
I don't know if I ever saw that because I didn't realize she was in it.
I loved that movie so much, and I still quote some stuff from it today. It's like probably not even funny. But Beyonce was in it, and therefore it was a good movie. So.
And for that reason, I think when we start your Twitch up, one of your emotes needs to be from the Pink Panther.
Yes. Yeah.
Great explosion.
Okay, let me get back to my notes now that I've gone on a tangent.
I you mentioned the movies because do you remember
Dude.
Obsessed? Did you guys ever see
I
that?
didn't watch
it, but
Dude.
it's on my list. Like I didn't make it to it before this podcast.
That's like Beyonce, Lemonade, Hold Up, but like the whole movie. It's great.
Damn.
And it's just like
I want to see it.
like
It's
in the best like empowering like bitch ain't gonna let
dude.
this shit go down.
Yeah. I've seen clips of it on TikTok, like when they're interacting before like she really knows that there's something going on. I was like, this does look really good.
Yeah.
And like
I remember people like in the theaters just like like cheering her on and stuff and just
dude, I gotta watch that.
I highly recommend.
Dude. Well, after all of that filming, she went on a month-long vacation after wrapping Dreamgirls. And that's when Beyonce started contacting producers and booking studio time to capitalize on the inspiration she was feeling from the story of the movie. And she said that B-Day is essentially supposed to be all of the things that she wished her character was able to say. And I don't really want to, I'm certain that people that are listening to this have probably seen Dreamgirls, but if you haven't, I don't want to spoil it for you. But there's like infidelity and drug use and that sort of thing. And her character is emotionally abused. And she has this like really powerful moment where she kind of like takes it all back, essentially.
Listen was specifically written for the musical for the movie because it's not in the musical.
And it is. Oh, I remember coming home from school and like turning on Oprah and Beyonce's on and she sings "Listen" and I was like, oh, who is that? She was really flexing.
That was like my go-to shower song. That was my. I'm in the shower belting it out.
Yeah.
Fucking listen,
dude. Okay, so the album was completed within 2 weeks, with most of the lyrical themes echoing what her character goes through in Dreamgirls. And she kept recording low key, like she didn't tell her father/manager, but kept the team stacked. 4 recording studios were working on this album simultaneously, as she was inspired by her now husband Jay-Z for working with multiple producers on the same album. So she rented out like a whole studio, and she would have like different rooms, and like each room was working on a different song, and she would just walk into each room and like work on that song for a little bit, work on this song for a little bit, and they're all continuously going back and forth.
Just you can't see it, but my jaws just dropped. It's just like that's the dream,
dude. I mean,
like,
her vision was clear.
Like, she's like, I've got a process, and here we go, guys.
Dude, yeah. They worked for 14 days, and she would have different songs being worked on in different rooms. It was almost like a factory. The people that worked on it kind of like said so. She recorded 3 songs a day. Vocally. She would go into the studio, and if you know B-Day, that's like her kind of like essentially after Dreamgirls, like flexing her vocal abilities, doing 3 of those songs a day. Holy oh my god. This time there were 25 songs written and 10 were chosen. A lot of sonic elements were odes to the 60s and 70s with a mix of R&B and twang, which is a genre that's more you'd find more often in like Texas, and you can really hear that in Sugar Mama, and I literally wrote OMG is just such an unbelievable song. So that's my opinion on that. Vocally, it's Beyonce at her best at that time. B-Day was released on September 4th, 2006, which was Bey's 25th birthday, with Deja Vu being the lead single, and it was everywhere. This solidified her as a superstar.
Yeah. So B-Day comes out, and they actually say, people argue online that was her first visual album because every song except for one, I couldn't find one of them. I don't know if it's been taken down since, but they said every song had a music video. So like even Kitty Cat It's a little short song. It's literally a video of Beyonce in front of some green screen with a big giant cat, and she's in a little cat suit
I don't
playing
think I've
with
seen
a ball
that.
of yarn.
I don't think I've seen that. Oh, wow.
And it's every
Put that in my notes for later. Bookmark that.
it's great because it's just so it's stupid. It's stupid. But they all have a video, and people are like, technically that's her first visual album, even though it wasn't like
Damn.
one of her films by Beyonce. Each one had a music video.
Interesting.
There was only one song I couldn't find. It was like the second to last song on the album. I don't know if it was taken down, because I would find it weird that every song had one except for one. But
Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I was like, also like right when YouTube first started, I think was around 2006.
Yeah.
And so she's, I mean, smart already knowing that that's going to be where things are headed, to just have a visual aspect, because people are going to look up the song on YouTube.
yeah.
That's really smart. I didn't even think about that.
Created that.
Probably. Oh my gosh. So 7 months later, she releases a deluxe version with a single called Beautiful Liar, which originally was leaked early. It's a duet with Shakira, and then she did like a couple of extra singles from B-Day, but in Spanish, because she figured that this like deluxe album would make her make a bigger splash in the international market, which I think is really cool. And she even worked with very specific people that could like make sure that the Spanish translation really conveyed what she was trying to say in the English one. Ring the Alarm was the second single and received mixed reviews, which is crazy because that's my favorite song on that album, with some applauding her taking risks and other being turned off by her but some being turned off by her, quote, aggressive vocals, which we all live in 2024 and know that that's kind of what makes Beyonce, you know? Like, her aggressive vocal takes are like my actual favorite thing.
Yeah.
And I literally wrote in all caps, which makes the song Female Rage. Ring the alarm. I love that.
Oh, right? I know.
Such a good song.
The other day I was in the car just trying to imitate how she does that and not feel like I'm hurting myself.
Dude.
Like, man, that is something I love about her voice, is the
It's
rage.
dude, it's
Like beautiful rage. Like
it's
Beautiful
actually
rage.
crazy that was considered like it had mixed reviews. A lot of people didn't actually like it. Well, specifically critics. And
Which critics are
they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Hey, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I
quote me on
had
that.
down that it had mixed reviews, but it still hit number one.
Yeah.
So they don't know what they're talking about.
They do not. The third single, Irreplaceable, to the left, to the left. This song let me know at 10 years old that my sense of direction was fucked.
Oh yeah, me too.
I was listening to this song, dude. I was listening to this song earlier, singing along to it, and I literally did it again. I said to the left, to the left. I realized I was pointing right.
Yeah, same.
I have a very vivid memory of like being on the playground in elementary school, and one of my friends is like singing it next to the sand pit, and like she's actually pointing to the left, and I was like, how did she know? Whoa, she didn't have to think about it first. Oh my god.
wow.
This song spent 10 weeks atop the Billboard charts and was nominated for Record of the Year. Dude, and I just want to point out the lyrics of the bridge to this song, because obviously at 10 years old, there was no way I was going to enjoy it the way that
You can now.
yes, the lyric that, oh my God. So since I'm not your everything, how about I be nothing?
Yeah.
Nothing at all to you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so good.
Shed a tear for oh.
Cause the truth of the matter is, dude, replacing you is so easy. Girl, gagged. And also a standout I really appreciate now as an adult is Resentment, which I think is the final track on the record, but
Yeah.
it's so good, and it really like showcases her vulnerability. That lyric, I know she was attractive, but I was here first. I've been with you for 6 years. Why did I deserve to be treated this way by you? And I have to look her in the eyes and know that she has she's had half of me.
Oh.
Yo! I mean, as a kid, I was like, what are you talking about? And as a 28-year-old, I go, oh, Beyonce. Beyonce, please.
I love how, not harsh, there's another word I'm looking for, but just real?
Yeah.
She knows how to burn someone.
Well, the lyrics are so conversational. You're almost like, and unapologetic. You're like, how could I had not thought about that? Some people were speculating that this was about an alleged affair that Jay-Z was having with Rihanna at the time, which obviously was never confirmed. And I know that it got to be so bad that her father, still her manager at the time, had to release a statement and go, this is stupid. This is not about that, please. But then we get Lemonade later. The foreshadowing.
The foreshadowing. Yeah, I remember when Irreplaceable came out, and I would listen to that song all the time. Same thing. I would always point to the right.
Don't ever ask us how to get somewhere. I hate being in the passenger seat and someone's like, okay, so how do you get to your house? And I'm like, and then I have to do that thing where, like, if you with your left hand makes an L.
Okay, you guys, but I'm dyslexic and that doesn't work for me.
I've honestly thought about tattooing an L on my left hand and an R on my right because it is that bad.
I always did the Pledge of Allegiance because I just since I was a kid, my right hand on my heart.
Oh, was it? I like how I said that so confidently too. Oh, whoa. Whoops.
Thank you for Beyoncé for teaching us our left and right.
Ooh, anyway.
Yeah.
Damn.
We were talking about how to try to figure out your left hand, so, you know.
That's what I'll go with. Yeah. I just like how I confidently was like, oh yeah, with your left.
Left hand.
Right.
But no, that's because that was kind of just ingrained in me since a child. And so it just was like, yes, indoctrination.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Damn. Well, we all know the impact that had. I will definitely say, yeah, I mean, I still hear Irreplaceable all the time on the radio. Ringing the Alarm has had, like, again, like I said, like a resurgence, I think, on TikTok. A lasting legacy. That song came out in 2006. But now we move on to her next album. I Am Sasha Fierce. It was released in late 2008, and it was originally released as a double album. And on Spotify, it's still listed as such, where like there's a 1 through 8, which is the I Am version, and another 1 through 8 that's Sasha Fierce. This time, they recorded 70 tracks for this and cut the ones that she didn't feel anything about. So she was like re-listening to, but there were 70 tracks recorded for this. The I Am side was mid-tempo pop and ballads like Halo and Broken Hearted Girl, which were inspired by Etta James and came shortly after President Obama wins the presidency, where she would later sing At Last at his inauguration. Inspired by folk and alternative rock elements, she experimented with instrumentation and added sounds not heard before on this side of the LP, like acoustic guitar, which had not been.
Smash into you.
Yeah. And then the side of the album I think I personally like a little bit more is Sasha Fierce, because Single Ladies, that was everywhere. I feel like that's, you know, one of the first like viral music videos I remember ever watching.
Well, so it is recognized as the first like internet dance craze.
Hell yeah.
That's like
the TikTok before TikTok.
Yeah, before TikTok became a thing. That's recognized as if not the first, one of the first. Some people are like, there's arguments and people never give Beyonce the flowers she deserves. So
yeah.
But it is recognized as one of the first internet dance crazes. Single Ladies was her 5th number 1 in US.
Dude.
And then If I Were a Boy was her 4th number 1 in the UK.
That's nuts.
And it's her third. This is her 3rd solo album, mind you. So she's had that many hits from 3 albums.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, again, number 1 album.
Mm-hmm. It went 6 times platinum. Damn. This side, Sasha Fierce, was meant to represent the version of her that was the superstar. And I've heard, and you know what? I can't say that if this is just stuff that I just remember from years going on because I haven't seen anything about it since, but I guess at the time that was supposed to be like her alter ego that she was on stage because Beyonce is, I heard, had like stage fright. I don't know if that's true.
I don't know if it was stage fright or it's just when I was watching, I think it was Homecoming. One of her concert videos, you know how they have the documentary part and they show behind, and she talks about Sasha Fierce coming out and stuff, and that was her first introduction to the world of her alter ego.
Dude, and I mean, that had such an impact on me because I have horrific stage fright. And I remember hearing about this alter ego type persona, and that's when I started, like, writing more and doing shows as a young person. And I mean, my stage fright was so bad that I'd, like, black out before I went on stage. And I started trying to implement that same thought process in my own head of like, okay, I'm just playing the character of somebody who can do this. And I still do that to this day. So like the impact that she had, even on something as trivial as that, was huge for me. I also wanted to point out Diva is my jam.
Yes.
Oh. She ain't no diva. So now that the internet and social media is getting popular, Single Ladies was more than a big song. It was a cultural moment, which moving forward, now that social media is big, she consistently has cultural moments. Justin Timberlake's SNL sketch was huge. I mean, we still think about that to this day. And everyone saw that music video. It was nominated for 6 Grammys, including Album of the Year, and won 5. Guess which one she didn't win?
Yeah.
We'll see a pattern continue as we go on about that. That's the first year that she was nominated and didn't win.
She tied with Lauryn Hill for most Grammy nominations in a single year with a female that year.
Which is nuts. I think it was 7 nominations for this album plus 3 nominations for, I don't remember what else. Oh, I think it was so she played Etta James in a movie. And was nominated for that, and also nominated, I think, for her performance of At Last at the inauguration. So in total, she had 10 nominations, which tied Lauryn Hill, and won 6. But in a 2021 interview for Harper's Bazaar, Beyonce revealed that she based the entire project on black and white photography after being told in a meeting discussing analytics that research discovered that her fans did not like when her photography was black and white. So if you picture the album I Am Sasha Fierce, it's a black and white. She stated that it pissed her off that an agency could dictate what her fans wanted based on a survey, pointing out that she was, quote, so exhausted and annoyed with these formulaic corporate companies, and highlighting the album's subsequent great commercial success. So once again, just like proving the record labels and the companies wrong with her very first album, she went, I'm not gonna fucking listen to you. Watch me release a black and white photo and also have an unbelievable album. Single Ladies was in black and white.
Yeah, the whole video's black and white.
Yeah. So, and I think everyone liked that.
And that's...
She went, I'm not gonna fucking listen to you.
I love it. And then she goes on the I Am tour after that, and she recorded it, and there's a whole video of it, and watched that. I really appreciated that she had a whole female band. And like, just when she came out, you could see that star power just raising up each time she releases a new video, honestly. But you could see it raising up, and that explains so much because it was a big fuck you to the industry. So like, you see that confidence, even though in the behind the scenes stuff you can see which is so shocking to me, how little confidence she has in some things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're Beyonce. you're Beyonce.
Yeah.
Like, how do you?
If you don't have confidence.
Well, I mean, what a way to like show that like even though she had been around in the industry for about 10 years and was the Beyonce, has one name. It's not,
Yeah.
oh, this Beyonce knows this is Beyonce.
Yeah.
And still labels are doubting her. Other people are doubting her. Like you know what? I'm going to point it out. There are men that have succeeded with far less and are not questioned in the same way that she has to consistently prove that she knows what the fuck she's talking about. After all of this, she announces that she's going to go on a hiatus from her music career in January of 2010, heeding her mother's advice to, quote, live life and be inspired by things again. During this break, she and her father parted ways as business partners, which I think was probably, this is where you're going to start to see a big shift in her musical landscape. Her break lasted 9 months and saw her visit multiple European cities, the Great Wall of China, the Egyptian pyramids, Australia, English music festivals, and various museums and ballets, which she kind of had her own little like Eat, Pray, Love moment, which she also did a cover story for Essence magazine called Eat, Pray, Love that detailed her 2010 break, and it won her a writing award for the New York Association of Black Journalists.
Yeah.
Because everything she does is excellent.
She's literally the like definition of Black excellence. Like,
Yeah, 100%.
rightfully so, she took a hiatus because I wrote down in here
She been
when
working.
she did the world tour, she did 99 shows.
Jesus Christ.
And like she showed behind the scenes how just exhausted she was. Oh my God, she had been working. So this was a much earned break.
Oh, yeah. I would see the whole world for 9 months. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Jeez. In 2011, she comes back with 4. This would be Beyonce's 4th consecutive #1 album. It was inspired by her hiatus, and she wanted to create an album with a more rhythm and blues feel, and also with severing ties with her father as a manager, she wanted to make more of an intimate and personal album with themes that focus on monogamy, femininity, and female empowerment. This time, she wrote 72 songs for this album, with 12 making the final cut. She was bored with the music on the radio and wanted to bring a new sound with an R&B feel back to the airwaves, which is so funny. It almost feels like the music industry as a whole, or like music in general, was like before 4 and after 4, because I feel like 4 shaped what the 2010s landscape sounded like. That like when I looked at like the album track list after like reading that little bit of like her wanting to, bored with being on the radio, it's like everything sounded like that after, but that's because she inspired it, which is crazy.
Yeah, you're right. It totally does shift right there. Like there's a distinct splitting point, between before 4 and after 4.
Dude. Before a 4. This with this R&B feel, it mixed 70s and 80s rock as well, and you can hear that with I Care and 1+1, which are both great songs. There's a lot of horns, and then harsher vocal styles like Ring the Alarm, which everyone had a problem with last time. And she wanted to make mature classics that she could sing at 40 and 60, and we all know she is singing them at 40.
Yep.
This was the first album that did not produce any #1 hits, yet it was considered her most accomplished album to date.
Well,
Which is crazy. Yeah, it's crazy that there were no
there were
hits.
no #1 hits.
It was
but
#1 in our hearts, though.
This is when Spotify came out. This is around when Spotify was
That's
becoming
true.
big.
Was it?
And her album,
She wasn't on Spotify in the beginning, right?
no, her album reached 1 billion Spotify streams on February 5th, 2018, making Beyonce the first female artist to have 3 of her albums surpass 1 billion streams on the platform.
Damn.
Wow.
I think part of the reason why this album, and I explore this a little bit more, we look at what 2011 was. That was the year of 21 from Adele. So makes sense. There was no, unfortunately, any room for her in that situation. Adele's 21 was a runaway success, and I think well deserved with all the success that it did get. It's one of the best albums of all time. But I wrote my things that I'm obsessed with the melody of 1+1. It's probably now my fave. Iconically, Beyonce announced her first pregnancy during the MTV Video Music Awards. And I swear this was the very first like where were you when moment for me. Like, everyone's always like, oh, where were you during 9/11? For me, it was, where were you when Beyonce announced her pregnancy? And she had like feminism in the background. And I think that's like the first time an artist was so proudly and openly feminist as well, at least in this current decade. So on January 7th, which is my birthday, by the way, Beyonce, in 2012, she gave birth to Blue Ivy, and 4 months later did a residency. 4 months after giving birth, and then spent some time in the Hamptons in the summertime to start work on her next album. Sang the national anthem at President Obama's second inauguration and headlined the Super Bowl.
Oh man, that was
where,
a big year.
yeah.
Which, okay,
It was, well, she also said that it was really important for her to get back to work after giving birth because she wanted to show women, like, your life doesn't stop when you become a mom. You can do things with your life. You can still be successful. And damn, she was.
And that Super Bowl, I was talking earlier, it frustrates me so much that it's not held up there as one of the best Super Bowl halftime shows, because it is one of the best Super Bowl halftime shows. I just recently rewatched it. And I was like, holy shit, why is this never on the lists of best Super Bowl halftime shows?
Racism.
Yeah.
Misogynoir.
Misogynoir. I'm never calling it anything else again.
Damn.
Ugh, it's so good. And then a few years later, she returns to the Super Bowl, and we don't even remember that it was Coldplay's Super Bowl.
Dude, yeah.
Okay, you guys?
Right?
Sometimes I go, oh yeah, Coldplay was there for some reason.
That's so.
And I watched it and I was like, Coldplay wasn't bad. Coldplay was not bad.
No,
But what I remember from that Super Bowl is when Bruno Mars and Beyonce came out. And they did it to, like, because it was the 50th year of the Super Bowl and they were honoring the past of the Super Bowl and the future. She comes out, slays the entire halftime show. And then there's this big controversy because her dancers are wearing Black Panther adjacent attire. And people were upset.
Yeah, exactly. And
There were protests to take it down. She was making a very clear statement with the Black Lives Matter
Yeah.
movement.
it's also around the time that fucking Colin Kaepernick, was kneeling during the national anthem, and
That's
then
where we're at now.
lost his fucking, it's just I haven't watched the NFL since. I stand on business.
I didn't really watch it before, but now I have no reason.
Definitely not now, but in that in-between time where she's does all of that stuff shortly after giving birth to Blue Ivy, she records Beyonce, which my very first note, iconic in all caps.
That was her. So that is what was her first visual album, quote, quote.
Yes.
That was her first real visual album.
This album, I'm just going to paint a picture of how much this changed the music industry. It surprise dropped on iTunes in late 2013 as a visual album with a short film for every song, fully realizing her artistic vision and dominance. I hate to use this word, but this phrase, but this is what people said at the time. It quote unquote broke the internet. Fifth album to hit number one. We're 5 for 5 here, people. First woman in history to have her first 5 albums be consecutive number one hits, sold 1 million copies in 6 days, and changed the day that we release music from Tuesday to Friday. Since she randomly dropped an album on a Friday in 2013, every person since has dropped an album on Friday.
Music releases on Friday.
She fundamentally changed the music industry, and she popularized the surprise drop that many artists have replicated since. But that's another one. That's the second where were you when moments. Where were you when Beyonce surprise dropped Beyonce?
Somebody was talking about, like, they were sitting in a diner and they saw just the pink words Beyonce on the TV.
Yeah.
And they're like, what's this?
Chills. I'm getting chills right now.
I've been here holding my face. I'm just like, I don't remember where I was, but I do remember instantly going to buy it and watching and listening to it on giant speakers and TV, like right away. Like as soon as I found out, I was just like, what?
Dude,
Rushes to the store. Like, I gotta go.
it was absolutely fucking crazy.
The real one.
Yes.
I was like, this is out of nowhere. We just
Dude.
got sneak attacked by Beyonce. Like,
Sneak attack, dude. Jason Gay described Beyonce's attention to detail as, quote, obsessive when observing her in the studio, noting that she had vision boards that she created for inspiration that had potential song titles, old album covers, and pictures of performances, and they were like strewn about the studio when she was recording this because she wanted that vision to be as clear as humanly possible. She first considered the idea of creating a visual album in June of 2013 when only 3 or 4 songs had been completed. Explaining her motivation, she said that she would often connect images, childhood memories, emotions, and fantasies to songs that she was in the midst of composing, and that she wanted people to hear the songs with the story that's in her head, and that's what makes it hers. And I didn't want to write little tiny notes for that. I wanted to just copy paste because I didn't want to get that mixed up. And it cannot be overstated just how much this album changed society. The cultural significance of partition. Ooh, woo! I coughed on the beat and the beat got sicker. Oh! Also Drunk in Love. I don't know what the fuck a surfboard is. I don't want to know. I don't need you to explain it to me. I'm all in Beyonce. I will be taking his axe to Red Lobster when he fucks me good. So. I never thought about it before, but now it's like, that makes total sense, Beyonce.
Okay, but for real, I was watching those videos, I was listening to that album, and that album, I told Janelle, I was like, it feels like the songs I was writing when I first got with Leo.
Oh.
They are
Horny.
Sexual. They are sexual. And I'm like, okay, but think about this for a minute. She has been with Jay-Z for 10 years now?
At this point, yeah.
10 years now. And she is still writing music like that. He must be giving it to her good.
As he should.
As he should. It's fucking Beyonce.
As the stay-at-home father of that family, he should. The album is sonically much darker than anything previous by Beyonce, with explorations in heavy bass sounds and low hi-hats, with, quote, subdued pulses, ambient effects, and throbbing grooves that sneak up on you, threatening to explode, but only occasionally transforming. The majority of the songs on this album do not follow a conventional song structure of verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. A lot of the songs are vibey moods that unfold the story throughout, like Haunted and Partition. This is where that's the most evident.
The song Blow. I love your face, you love the taste.
Yeah.
That sugar babe, it melts away. Can you eat my Skittles? It's the sweetest in the middle. Pink, that's the flavor. Solve the riddle.
Damn.
She was not shying away.
No.
And 100%, watching her over the last month has made me more okay with my sexuality as a woman. You feel like you have to shy away, you have to hide it, you have to not like sex that much, you have to,
yeah,
it's just a thing you do. No, she makes me feel like it's okay for me to be sexual and sexy myself.
Yeah.
Outspoken about it.
And be okay with it, be confident in it.
And then I wanted to primarily just kind of essentially copy paste what this was said, because I don't think that I could have said this any better. But much like her previous albums, the record is feminist, with greater exploration of gender issues and conflated with an unwavering look at Black female sexual agency. Soraya McDonald of the Washington Post viewed Beyonce as significant to Black feminism as it celebrates Black female sexuality in mainstream music and in the context of hip-hop, where it is typically only shown through the male perspective. So the album's most explicit commentary on gender is the 3-part Flawless. It opens with the earlier released Bow Down, before segueing into an excerpt of the speech by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie on the socialization of girls. The final part uses a staccato trap beat as Beyoncé reflects on her own feminist attitudes, encouraging self-acceptance among women and criticizing misogynistic sentiments. This album was nominated for 5 Grammys, including Album of the Year, and won 3.
We'll give bonus points to whoever can guess which one she didn't win.
Yeah. I think that time it was Beck that she lost to. And I think Kanye I think he walked on stage for that too.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. And I remember in the moment, like, a lot of people criticizing, like, or a lot of people on the other side saying, well, like, Beyonce didn't write all of her own songs herself, and Beck did, and he played every instrument that was on that album. Okay, but which was more culturally significant? Was it Beck's album that none of us know the name? I'm not trying to, don't mean to shit on him. Sorry, but I'm just saying cultural significance there. What do you need to win an album of the year? Mm-hmm. At this point, what do we need?
Well, and not just that, like you said, I don't even remember Beck's album.
Yeah.
I don't even remember Beck's album.
I don't think it was commercially successful.
Definitely don't.
Sorry, Beck.
Sorry, Beck.
But this will lead us into my favorite Beyonce album. I'm lemonading. The 6th studio album, which was a concept album with a song cycle that relates to Beyonce's emotional journey of dealing with and processing her husband's infidelity in a generational and racial context. It was released with a 1-hour HBO movie/visual, originally released exclusively on Tidal, which was Jay-Z's streaming service at the time, and remained only available to stream on Tidal until 2019, 3 years after it was released. It was
still on Tidal, was the only place I could find it.
Oh, really? Oh, weird.
Lemonade?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it on YouTube.
I had it on iTunes.
Oh, it might not be on YouTube, but it is on Spotify. So if people want to listen to it on there. It received widespread critical acclaim and is widely regarded as one of the best albums of all time. And I want you to remember this, people, because we're going to talk about the awards later. It is ranked number 32 on Rolling Stone's list of best albums of all time and deemed as the best album of the 2010s. The album was nominated for 9 Grammys and then lost almost all of them to Adele's 25, which was a devastating blow.
Yeah.
I don't want to diminish Adele's success, but Lemonade. At least Adele made a point to point out to Beyonce how her music made her friends and particularly her black friends feel. But I do think it's really unfortunate that every time she loses, the camera pans to her and she has to just sit there gracefully. Oh, I could go on about that. Anyway.
That could be its own episode.
Yeah, honestly.
Well, and it's just so, like, at some point it just becomes so blatantly obvious.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. At this point, there was absolutely no reason that she didn't win. But
and don't get us wrong, we are huge Adele fans.
I love Adele.
Yeah.
Adele is amazing. 25 was not Lemonade.
No. Ooh. Yeah, no.
I know, it's like, what else can you say?
Dude.
And she would agree with that.
Yeah,
Adele
also,
would agree
but
with that.
Adele's a huge Beyonce fan. She would.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah, we love you, Adele girl. We'll talk about you at some point. Lemonade was recorded between June of 2014 and July of 2015, and immediately had the idea for the visual album with mood boards again all over the studio representing each chapter that she wanted to convey to her collaborators. Jay and Beyonce were in the studio working together and separately as a form of therapy to deal with his infidelity, but the songs that Beyonce was working on separately, became Lemonade. The director of the Formation music video said that Beyoncé explained to her the concept behind Lemonade, stating, quote, she wanted to show the historical impact of slavery on Black love and what it has done to the Black family and Black man and woman. How we're almost socialized not to be together. And Beyoncé wrote on this in a 2018 Vogue article about the generational curses in her family. She comes from a lineage of broken male-female relationships, abuse of power and mistrust, and including a slave owner who married a slave. Beyoncé continues writing, only when I saw that clearly I was able to resolve those conflicts in my own relationship, connecting to the past and knowing our history makes us both bruised and beautiful. Yeah. And I think that was really important to include, and I didn't want to misrepresent her words in any way.
Yeah.
This theme is repeated throughout Lemonade, with Beyoncé's grief, trauma, and struggle being connected to that of her family's ancestors. The 6-track Daddy's Lessons acts as a turning point for the album, with Beyoncé linking Jay-Z's cheating on her with her father, Matthew Knowles, cheating on her mother, Tina. Towards the end of Lemonade, Beyoncé reveals that the meaning behind the album title, showing Jay-Z's grandmother, Hattie White, saying, quote, I had my ups and downs, but I always find the inner strength to pull myself up. I was served lemons, but I made lemonade. And describing her own grandmother as an alchemist who spun gold out of this hard life with the instructions to overcome these challenges passed down through generations like a lemonade recipe. I thought that was important to comment.
Yeah, no, it's... And, like, people wonder, of course, like, you see the rage, you see the hurt, you see the healing, you see the whole album.
And the forgiveness.
All in that album. And people were like, why'd she forgive him? Why'd she go back? But she clearly states right there.
Yeah, if you're a fan of Beyonce, you know why. It was important for her to do that. And also, if she forgave Jay, then you should too. It's also not your relationship. It's a big, someone who knows what that's like, it's a big deal to forgive infidelity. And, if that's something that people in the relationship decide to do.
Yeah. And she clearly states right there why it was so important to her. And not just that, but they have a family together. They have a life.
Yeah, and it's not as easy as just don't be together anymore.
But the fact that she stayed with him and still had the courage and the balls. Oh my God. Suck on my balls.
Suck on my balls.
When she said suck on my balls, I went, oh my God, yes.
I also wanted to speak on the... Yeah, dude. I wanted to speak on some of the themes of like Black feminism in particular. If you can't tell from my really nasally annoying voice, I'm a white woman, but I felt like it was important to speak on what her hopes of conveying this album were for, and they are not for me, and I understand that, but I'm hoping that people that listen to this resonate with this and hear that this is for them and this is a safe place for them. But Miriam Bale of Billboard called Lemonade a revolutionary work of Black feminism as a movie made by a Black woman, starring Black women and for Black women, in which Beyonce is seen gathering, uniting, and leading Black women throughout the film. As well as relating the story of Beyonce's relationship with her husband, Lemonade also chronicles the relationship between Black women and American society. This includes how the United States betrayed and continually mistreats Black women, with society needing to solve its problems in order to enable reformation and the rehabilitation of Black women. As part of reverting the societal oppression and silencing of Black women, Lemonade centralizes the experiences of Black women in a way that is not often seen in the media and celebrates their achievements beyond the adversity they face. Don't Hurt Yourself contains a quote from Malcolm X in which he said, "The most disrespected person in America is a Black woman. The most unprotected person in America is a Black woman. The most neglected person in America is a Black woman." The Black female public figures that Beyonce features in the film all have successful careers despite experiencing misogynoir and racism in the media. The film also contains clips of everyday Black women from the working class communities, bringing visibility to Black women who are often ignored and undermined by society. The film envisions a space where there is never oppression of Black women, whereby Beyoncé and other Black women form a self-sufficient community in which they can heal each other. Lemonade also defies and dismantles stereotypical representations of Black women as monolithic and angry Black women, instead attributing them complexity, agency, strength, and vulnerability. And that's why it's such a big fucking deal that she didn't win. And that's yeah.
Like I said,
for sharing that, because that's a lot that you watch it and you notice things, but you don't realize how much of it was like she was the first to do stuff like this, or not even just the first, but
using her platform to really
Exactly.
talk about an issue that's so and again, as a white woman, I cannot even begin to scratch the surface of what Black women have to deal with.
yes.
Or women of color in general have to deal with. I mean, one of the biggest things that I can always point to is the fact that in the medical field, there's this stupid, crazy belief that Black women have a very high pain tolerance. So they are usually not given, what's the word? Like,
pain.
well, they're not given pain meds. They're not given like the type of medication that helps you fall asleep for a surgery, that sort of thing. They're not given quality care as a whole. I mean, that's just, again, a surface scratching example of just the reality that Black women live in. And she created this whole album as a space for Black women to feel seen and safe.
Yeah,
Yes.
like a love letter,
Yes,
It
yeah.
just- like I know it. Like it's like she knows. She knows.
Yeah, 100%. I think that it's extremely important that she used this as an opportunity to do that. And it was self-healing as well, as she's dealing with, again, like she said, the generational curses of male and female relationships within her own family. It's a really important lessons to set up for her own children as they grow up and they start dating and they fall in love at some point in their life too. And hopefully, people are inspired from this to self-analyze their relationships and their relationship patterns and then their parents' patterns and all of that as well.
And what I loved about the album the most is, I think I was starting to say it earlier, is she was so unafraid. She experienced every emotion on that album. And she was not afraid to say the angry parts. That was beautiful to me. That was what drew me to the album. She did not
honest.
Yeah.
She didn't back off at all.
It was, uncomfortable but important.
Yeah.
If it made her, putting your business out there for the whole world to hear about Jay-Z fucking around with Becky with the good hair.
Just like a grit there.
Yeah.
That grit. There we
Yeah.
that she didn't back off from. And it did when it came out, people were like, ooh, like there was those people who were,
Well, yeah, if it makes you uncomfortable, good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
One of some of the other things that she touches on, and I'm sorry that I'm going to be reading so much. I didn't want to miss any of the importance of what Lemonade actually was. Beyoncé also uses Lemonade as a form of recognition, commemoration, and celebration of the culture and history of Black people in the Deep South and the United States as a whole. The film of Lemonade contains allusions to slavery, such as the House of Slaves' Door of No Return in Senegal and the dungeons of Elmina Castle in Ghana, where slaves were taken before being shipped to the Americas. In Love Drought, Beyoncé walks with her dancers into the sea, alluding to the Igbo landing of 1803, where Igbo slaves took control of their slave ship and, rather than submit to slavery, marched into the sea while singing in Igbo, drowning themselves. Beyoncé appears wearing a tingan in reference to Louisiana's Tingan laws implemented in 1786 that limited African Americans' women's dress in order to maintain the state's racist social hierarchies. The film also contains references to African religion and spirituality, such as Yoruba Ori, body paint in Sari, allusions to the Iowa Erzuli red eyes, in Don't Hurt Yourself, and Beyonce's initiation into the Santeria religion, an embodiment of the Yoruba Oshira Ocean, in Hold Up. Allusions to New Orleans culture include Queen of Creole Cuisine, Leah Chase, the Edna Carr Marching Band, jazz funerals, Mardi Gras Indians, and the Superdome. Beyonce is seen with other black women on plantations in Lemonade. In the Formation video, the walls of the plantation houses are covered with French Renaissance-style portraits of black subjects. The director states that the film about slavery traditionally features white people in these roles of power and position, and I wanted to turn those images on their head. Towards the end of Lemonade, Beyonce and several black women are on a plantation with Chris Kelly for Fact, writing, "Instead of an antebellum memory, these scenes portray a dream, the fantasy of an all-black matriarchal utopia where women dress up, prepare meals, take photographs, and perform shows, not for a master, but for themselves." Throughout the film, Beyonce can be seen in Fort McCobb, a Confederate States Army stronghold that was taken over by one of the first all-black Union Army units, the 1st Louisiana Native Guard, and eventually destroyed by Hurricane Katrina. On the central track, Daddy's Lessons, Beyonce is seen standing in a hideaway in the fort, alluding to the Underground Railroad. However, on the closer, All Night, Beyonce is seen above ground, walking on top of the ruins of the fort, in an antebellum-style dress made in West African material, possibly inspired by a very specific artist who is known for reappropriating European import, the cloth, to remake symbols of European cultural dominance in the spirit of Africa. On Don't Hurt Yourself, Beyonce samples Led Zeppelin's When the Levee Breaks. However, the classic rock song was originally written by Black Delta blues artists Kansas Joe McCoy and Memphis Minnie, with the song referring to the Great Mississippi Flood of 1927, which displaced hundreds of thousands of African Americans. With the sample, Beyonce reappropriates the song that was written by black people about black history. In general, Beyonce tries to reappropriate the genre that were influenced by African Americans that are now seen as predominantly white genres on Lemonade, such as rock, and Don't Hurt Yourself, and country, and Daddy's Lessons.
Like, the amount of thought that went into all of this, the visuals, the album, the songs.
The history, the culture, the honor and, like, respect and just, like... inclusion and just
the weight of it, yeah. I mean, it's so heavy, but it's supposed to be.
Yes.
This was music that was made for black women, for the black community, for the atrocities that they have faced over the years. It's a symbol of healing, of being able to talk about things, about opening discussions. And I will say that I wrote down kind of like my favorite songs, obviously the very top one, all of them. Don't Hurt Yourself. And then I always think about the episode of like Kimmy Schmidt or Titus, when Titus is breaking up with his boyfriend, or he found out his boyfriend was cheating on him, and he's like, "I'm lemonading," and you just see this beautiful flowy yellow dress with this bat. And I do think that some of this album is like memed to high hell, that it almost like some people forget or maybe try to distance themselves for how heavy this whole creative process actually was and is, and how significant it actually is. But it definitely really speaks to how heartbreaking it was that it wasn't recognized for the brilliance that it was.
what it was.
Well, and again, you know, to use this word again, it broke the internet again. It came out and that's all you heard about. It made culture. It made history. It changed things.
Yeah.
In the industry. And she repeatedly uses her platform and her voice to speak up for the marginalized, which happens on Renaissance too.
Yes. Yeah. In the interim between Lemonade and Renaissance, obviously we get the iconic Homecoming. I don't know if you want to take away and talk about that.
Homecoming, I watched it. We were just watching it again before this. But what really, you know, going off of Lemonade, she went into this and she wanted to celebrate Black excellence. And she was like, I never got to go to the college and experience that.
Yeah.
She fills the stage with Black musicians, dancers, steppers, color guard. I don't know. everything you would see at a college marching band. And she said she wanted the feel of what she used to feel when she went to Battle of the Bands. This is at Coachella. She brings all of this to Coachella. Full marching band on the stage. Full ass marching band on the stage. And she still commands respect in the middle of it. It's just insane to me, like the way she commands the stage with a stage full of people. Mm-hmm. She also takes this opportunity. Again, she said, I think the quote was, when I found out I was going to Coachella, I wasn't going to put on my flower crown. I wanted to bring my culture here.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring our culture here.
And that's really felt, you know, if any of you haven't watched Homecoming, it is on Netflix. And I think you could probably find it, like, you know, you find it somewhere if you don't want to pay for Netflix or if you don't have Netflix. But it really showcases her dedication to her culture, how important it is for her to showcase her culture. And it also shows her dedication to her craft and how important her craft is. The extreme ways in which she had to get in shape shortly after giving birth to twins. And by the way, it was not an easy pregnancy. It was a very, very scary one.
Yes.
Where she had preeclampsia and ended up having to get an emergency C-section. So she goes through all of that, and then 9 straight months rented two airplane hangars?
Yeah,
or two sound stages?
Two sound stages. And they had like, one was for the band and one was for the dancers. And they practiced this show. They got it all set up. They did 2 nights headlining Coachella, filmed it all, put it on Netflix for us to watch. And I'm so glad they did. Mm-hmm. It has become a staple for me. I have to rewatch it often now.
It's a comfort movie.
The attention, though, like seeing behind the scenes and the attention that she put into every aspect of that show. And she was a part of all of it. The costumes, the choreography, the music, the band, the arrangements. She, again, had a vision and was going to make sure that vision came through. Puts school bleachers on the stage, fills it with a band, and then comes out and is just Beyoncé in the middle of, I think it was like over 200 people on that stage.
Yeah.
That's insane. Because, yeah, they added all these extensions to the stage and everything, too. Like, it was like, hey, Coachella, here's a Beyonce concert for you.
Dude. She delivered.
Yeah.
She delivered.
And she was the first Black woman to ever headline Coachella. And I think the only one so far.
And headline is like the main name, right?
Yeah, and there's only ever been, in the 20 years of its existence, 2 other ladies who have headlined it. And that was Lady Gaga, who replaced Beyonce in 2017 because she was
pregnant.
And Bjork.
Damn.
And Bjork was 2002 and 2007.
That's ridiculous.
What a random... from Beyonce to Bjork. We got...
different spectrum of individuals.
We got some females for you.
But she's so powerful and just culturally important to music and us as a generation.
Yeah.
And when she was announced that she was playing Coachella, it was given the nickname Beychella.
Yeah.
And everybody just called it Beychella. Like, that's all anybody cared about.
I want to see Beyonce. Yep. I actually, a friend of mine's cousin had gone to Coachella specifically for Beyonce and got there at the beginning of the day and sat in the on the ground right in front of that stage until Beyonce had arrived. And had to fight through different other concerts because there's she wasn't the only one that played on that stage all day,
dude.
and she was like, I'm here. I am here, and I will not move.
Dude, that's dedication.
Also, hearing Lemonade, the songs from Lemonade with a full marching band.
Ooh.
Oh, so good.
Mm-hmm.
I even put on here, I said, it seems like Lemonade and the Betrayal from Lemonade brought her boss level up. Like she was just like, she did not give a fuck anymore. She was owning who she was stepping up, and that's why she could stand on a stage with 200 other people and still be the center of attention.
Yes.
For real, like, I don't even think about it because it's always just like, well, it's just Beyonce. But, because it doesn't matter how many people are in the room.
Yeah. Dude, yeah. Oh my gosh.
They did 4 months of rehearsal for this, and she said she was bringing in her, at this point, 22-year career into the festivals. So there were songs. Destiny's Child made a guest appearance.
Yes.
And she was bringing all that history, and she brought her culture. It was beautiful to watch. It's amazing. And that is my personal favorite album because it has a little bit of everything, and the marching band and the different arrangements. The suck on my balls stomp portion is my favorite part ever. I will watch that religiously over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. As she stands on that stage and talks about how us women are tired of the bullshit, and then she continues to do a stomp routine as she says, "Suck on my balls."
Damn. That'll be the outro.
So good. So that's she releases that. There's a visual album, and all of these, by the way, are under her production company. She started her own production company before Beyonce came out.
I believe so.
Yes. Beyonce was like her first release under her own production company.
That sounds right, because it feels like Beyonce and On have all been like in their own tier.
It's Homecoming, a film by Beyonce.
Yeah.
And so we keep getting this excellence with every album she releases. And then in between, so we have between Lemonade and Renaissance, we have that. And then she also works on The Lion King, which I don't feel like we needed a live action of The Lion King. That's my own opinion. But the music and the visual album that she did, Black is King, on Disney Plus.
It's so good.
That's all we needed from it. We didn't need the live action Lion King.
Like, I wish that was it.
Yeah, like that was the live action that's the real live action Lion King.
Like a full length feature of what she created was that would just be, it already was, but like,
dude,
to imagine what you could, what she would do with more. Because every single detail is just so thought out and purposeful and just like.
And the music is beautiful on Black is King, but you definitely have to watch.
You have
the
to
visual
watch
album
because it's a celebration. There's other facets to it, and it's its journey, but by the end, it's just damn. We are here, just.
It's such a beautiful tribute to her culture, to the history. And then, like, not even just that, but they tie in the Lion King story. So it's the remake we needed. And they turned the Lion King movie into a cultural, political moment to remind people how important Black history and Black people are. So those things come in between. And then most recently,
we got Renaissance. Pew, pew, pew. Woo. It is the 7th studio album and the first solo album since Lemonade's release in 2016. This was released in 2022? 23?
Yes.
Yeah.
2022.
The first installment of her 3-album project, which was Act 1. Act 2, coming out March 29th. Please mark your calendars. Cowboy Carter is on the way.
Yes.
Woo! This ain't Texas. Ain't no home. I was telling the girls, like, I think this was like on Galentine's Day, but when the trailer for Texas Hold'em came out on or during the Super Bowl, the very like first few frames I was like, oh my god, is this the second part of Telephone? Their song with fucking because they like ride off into the sunset in the desert, and I was like, oh my god, it's Telephone. No, it's not, girl. No, it is not. And you know what, I'm fine with what we got instead. I'm not even upset. I'm very happy about it. This was written and recorded during the pandemic. She was inspired and was hoping to inspire joy and escapism for listeners, obviously, who were struggling during this isolating period. 1970s black dance music styles such as disco and house were like huge prominent factors in writing this, and it pays homage to the pioneers of those genres, namely black queer artists. The album's lyrical content explores themes of escapism, hedonism, self-assurance, and self-expression. It also debuted at number 1. We are 7 for 7. She said that creating this album allowed her a place to dream and find escape during a scary time for the world. And she said, quote, "It allowed me to feel free and adventurous in a time when there was little else moving. My intention was to create a safe place, a place without judgment, a place to be free of perfectionism and overthinking, and a place to scream, release, feel freedom." Beyoncé also told British Vogue that the lockdown due to the COVID-19 pandemic changed her as a person, stating that she has, quote, "spent a lot of time focusing on building my legacy and representing my culture the best way I know how. Now I've decided to give myself permission to focus on my joy." Further, she called this period the most creative time in her life as she sought to escape feelings of isolation by recording new music. As lockdown began to end, Beyoncé told Harper's Bazaar that, quote, "We are ready to escape, travel, love, and laugh again. And I feel a renaissance emerging." That's what she said. "And I want to be a part of nurturing that escape in any way possible." But she sought inspiration in post-1970s black ball culture, dance music, and club culture. Beyoncé noted that she was largely introduced to this culture by her, quote, "uncle Johnny," who was her gay cousin who helped raise her until his death during the AIDS epidemic. And further, she wanted the album to be a celebration of the underappreciated pioneers of dance music whose contributions have been unrecognized in the mainstream. The first single was "Break My Soul," and it was released on the summer solstice to mark the beginning of summer and give that feeling of escapism.
I love it. And you know, I keep going back to the...
Curates it all.
Yeah.
She does. She planned it all.
Well, I love the way that, like, so she started out in the church singing in choirs. There's even a song on Renaissance called Church Girls. She
love that song.
Big part of her history is the church, but she's into astrology, and she so well for me incorporates it all. She has her religion, her belief, her spirituality, as well as she believes in all these other things, and she shows us that it's okay to have all of it. And I really appreciate that about her.
Yeah. One of the criticisms I heard a lot when Break My Soul came out was the themes lyrically of that song were, you know, essentially talking about barely making any money and you just want to get to the weekend and like, you're not going to break my soul through capitalism and all this stuff. And people were like, well, what do you know about that, Beyonce? The whole point of this album was to be an escapism as like a love letter to her listeners, to her predominantly black and predominantly queer fan base. Not that she was like, oh, I totally relate to you kids. Like, of course she doesn't. She is a billionaire, but you know, she really took the opportunity with this album. You know, one of the things we were discussing before the podcast was, especially last year when the Renaissance tour was also going on at the same time that the Eras tour was starting, this like pitting both her and Taylor Swift against each other as like, well, who's better and this and that. But you know, you don't see that when there's like two male artists that are killing it. Like, no one's sitting there going, oh, well, Ed Sheeran and Bruno Mars, like, who's better? Like, they're not doing that because they're different artists.
Yeah.
Vastly different artists. And you're going to a vastly different show. And honestly, I'm sorry, but like, there is no competition with Beyonce. She is an alien superstar. But when, you know, a lot of like fans of Taylor Swift were saying that, well, you know, obviously Taylor's better because she writes all of her own music, and like Beyonce,
does all that.
she does. And I think something to point out, people were like, oh, well, you know, there's like 16 writers on this track. Okay, but also think about it this way. Beyonce is a billionaire. She does not need any more money. She'll take somebody's, you know, like she'll find a track on SoundCloud from an artist that, or like a beat maker that has no credits behind him. And that will change his life. That will change their life if like she takes one of the lines from a songwriter like who's like, oh, I wrote this line. If she uses it, they get to say that they helped write a Beyonce song. She understands and uses her status that she has to uplift other people and kickstart their careers. It's not about, it's
like Haley and Chloe.
Chloe and Haley, or Chloe and Halle. Yeah, she's, you know, she uses her platform to bring up other artists, which is something that, you know, another thing that we talked about prior to this podcast starting today is just not something that you see in the music industry. Everyone's kind of keeping to themselves. What can I do for me? How can I make myself look the best? And Beyonce understands that it takes a village to be Beyonce. Yes, she could go on stage and have 200 people behind her and still steal that spotlight. But what makes those shows so special, what makes her music mean so much to other people is the amount of people that it takes to make this work.
Yes.
Like, you know, you could sit there and try to find the accolade of, well, I used one producer and it was like me and another writer and that's it. But like her very first album, she's interviewing people to create a team to make this idea of Beyonce that much better. It's not about
her vision.
Right.
Also on the topic of, you know, the competition, why are we talking about who's better instead of talking about the fact that we have two women who are dominating the music industry right now?
Dude, I mean, like, a perfect example of that, like all of this, like, you know, back and forth by the Beehive and Swifties of like who's better, this and that. Well, you know, the very first tour movie to come out was the Eras Tour movie, and guess who was at the premiere of it? Beyonce. Because she's letting people know she's not in competition with Taylor Swift. They are two completely different artists, and it is okay to celebrate other women's successes. There is room for everyone. Taylor Swift is not taking Beyonce's fucking pedestal, and Beyonce's not taking hers. You can be a successful artist, not at the expense of another person.
Right.
Which, speaking of, she then releases the Renaissance tour. Exclusively in AMC theaters. I found a version online. Shh. I watched it. This show took 4 years to create. They worked on this show for 4 years, and it was 126 semi-trucks.
Moving a city.
Yeah.
Every time
they were moving a city every single time.
Dude.
Some of the things I wanted to point out was that when she does this, so she's taking this music genre that people were like, she's not EDM, she's not, but she's doing it and she's doing it well, and she's doing it in honor of her, like you said, mostly Black and queer fan base. She makes sure to bring in people like Kevin, Jay-Z, Prodigy to narrate the show.
Yeah.
And he's one of the most famous ballroom musicians, which is, when I say ballroom, I don't mean like the waltz and
not your like elementary school's ballroom dance class.
Yeah, this is gay ballroom.
Yeah.
This is queer culture.
Yes.
and she brings him in, and he narrates this whole show, and it's just so great to watch her collaborate with this community. Again, raising up a community in honor of her Uncle Johnny.
Yeah.
You know, she even mentions him in her song, and she says, Uncle Johnny made my dress that cheap spandex. She looks a mess. Because her Uncle Johnny made her dresses when they started Destiny's Child, I think. Or, well, before they were Destiny's Child.
Yeah.
I think when they were Girls' Time.
Part of her,
Yeah, it was part of her beginning. Her mom and Uncle Johnny would make dresses and would put on each rhinestone on the dresses. And it was because he was like, no, you're not going out on stage on that.
Yeah.
and it's just such a beautiful tribute to him, I think. And the music is just fun. I was mentioning this earlier. The difference with this album too is that there are transitions between the songs. She does really good with transitions in a lot of her albums, but this is like you're at a club and a DJ's mixing and you don't even know that the new song has started.
Yeah.
Like
it's a guided journey.
Yes.
Yeah. There was a lot of times I was like, wait, is this? Oh, we've moved on.
Yes. Also, in the video, you know, she has her documentary parts and everything. There were some really cool parts. Kendrick Lamar came out. Meg Thee Stallion came out. Ooh. Diana Ross sang to her on her birthday. Like, lots of star power in this movie. But my favorite part is that Blue Ivy is in it. And she wanted to dance on stage with her mom so bad. And her mom said, okay, if you practice a lot, you can have one night. And she let her come out one night. And she did it. And then one of her friends got online and was leaving mean comments. One of Blue Ivy's friends. And Beyonce was really upset, and so she let her continue doing it every night, and she just kept getting better and better and that was a
part of the show that everyone looked forward to moving forward. Like on Twitter, you follow the tour, because I'm too broke to go, and I would just be like, every night would be like, oh, this is what she did this night, and it was so cool seeing the community of the Beehive like be behind this little girl who's
11 years old.
Yeah, yeah. She is very young and has that dedication, that seriousness that her mother has, which I think is really cool.
And the way she looks up to her mother, and then to watch Beyonce get nervous as her baby steps out on stage and watch her, how proud she is as her baby dances on stage.
Yeah.
And see that mother aspect come out. Also, just to mention, her family came with her on these tours. She was a mother the whole fucking time. She is living proof that you can have it all.
Yes.
It's a lot of work, but you can have it all. And I think that's so important. And then, now we're getting part 2 to it at the end of this month. I am going to make an announcement that we will be meeting on the Bass Blown Discord to have a listening party.
Yes, ma'am.
So I will put the link to the Discord in the description of this podcast if you would like to join us. I will put a time up, but we are going to listen to the album together on Discord. Enjoy it. And I am so excited. Everybody was flipped on their heads when they found out that Beyonce was making a country album, even though she had already released Daddy Lessons, which is...
I love it.
There were hints. She started wearing little cowboy hats and stuff. Then she showed up to the Grammys in that like beautiful cowboy hat, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, is Beyonce gonna release music?" And then we finally get the
Very detailed.
Oh, dude,
She curates the moment.
I just gotta say, 16 Carriages is so fucking good.
the church harmonies on that song.
Dude, the way that it's like 16 carriages, and then oh my god, I feel like I'm just like getting shocked every time.
Yes.
I cannot wait for this album. We're seeing a bunch of racist pop up. I'm seeing people that I know trying to find every reason other than the real reason they're not excited that Beyonce is joining the country music genre. Have all these different things to say. Well, she wasn't a part of girl. What makes the country song? She was,
good?
yeah.
Can she do it?
Exactly. She was born and raised in Texas. What more do you want? And I think more than anything, it's just a lot of people don't want to see. There are not that many Black women in the music industry or in the country music scene. There are only a very select few, and you never see their stuff online. I mean, if you guys are looking for more Black female country artists, Amethyst Kai is great. She's Black, she's queer. Yola is from Britain, also beautiful. And there's another girl who I found because of she just won a bunch of
Americana.
yeah.
Kind of.
Oh, let me just Tanner Adele is also someone who is a Black country artist who I found because she was like, hey, if Beyonce's coming over and doing country music, does that mean I can open for her? And like made this like TikTok, and she's a song that's really funny called Buckle Bunny, that obviously ruffles feathers because Buckle Bunny is like, you know, people, the connotation behind Buckle Bunny is like someone who goes to a rodeo to find a cowboy, and then everyone's like, oh, all the girls are jealous, you know what I mean? But I think she's so great. I'm so excited. There are a lot of radio stations that are actively refusing to play Texas Hold'em, and I think that that's so annoying. But she's not getting radio play and has the #1 country song right now. So Beyonce's
she's not getting radio play?
Yeah.
They're refusing to play her. There's also people, I sent Casey a TikTok the other day of a guy on a news channel, and he's talking about how Beyonce is come out with country, and his quote is, "They just want to put their mark on everything."
Ugh.
She has experienced, and she did with Daddy Lessons too. She played at the CMT Awards. She played Daddy Lessons, and she brought the Dixie Chicks out. She was clearly making a statement, and CMT took it down off their websites. Now she's coming out with this. People are complaining. Casey was telling me about how people are complaining that she's calling it Cowboy Carter.
Yeah.
Knowing Beyonce, she is doing this with a specific purpose. And it's that I don't know if this is the specific purpose, but country music has roots in Black culture.
Yeah.
And she's reclaiming it and taking it back.
I'm trying to find the specific video so I can credit the creator, but one of the reasons why people are upset with the fact that she's calling her album Cowboy Carter, even though that's her last name, she can call whatever the fuck she wants, and I think that it has multiple connotations on purpose. What's considered to be the first family of country music is the Carter family, and the Carter family popularized a particular guitar pattern called the Carter scratch that Maybelle Carter used to play on guitar. And back when they had their show, before, you know, obviously social media and all that kind of stuff, her family would go around to different rural communities and try to learn the folk songs of that area, learn these ancestral songs and that sort of thing. But then they'd come back and promote them as their own songs, which is something that's happened forever. I took an American folk studies class in college that I got to hear a lot of these field recordings from the very, very early 1900s. But that Carter scratch that she originated, actually, she learned from a Black musician that was that they had met on their journey, that was helping them learn some songs and taking them around. She really liked the way that he played guitar, and so then she came back and was like, yeah, this is the way I play guitar. And I'm trying to I want to be able to actually find this particular musician or this particular video. Okay, so Little Debbie on TikTok, she was the one that talked about this. And I guess the original artist that created the Carter scratch was Leslie Riddle. It's worth looking into, definitely.
Yes. So yeah, we'll listen to the album. We are going to throw our full support behind Beyonce doing country music because it's good. And also because she is allowed to. And I don't feel like that should have to be said, but apparently it does.
Yeah.
She is allowed to make country music.
Guess what?
Yeah.
Get used to it.
So, all right, as we wrap up, we are going to do our go around and do our traditional wrap up of what is your favorite album from Beyonce?
Lemonade.
Oh, it's so hard. All of them. My initial is the live I Am Sasha Fierce album, like the live one. But when the surprise Beyonce album dropped, that just took me to a whole nother world. So I think that's my favorite is Beyonce.
My favorite is Homecoming. And I think a big part of it is just the big, huge marching band behind it. Mm-hmm. And hearing those songs with a full marching band, like, come on now. But what is your favorite Beyonce song?
Oh my God.
I know.
I needed to research that.
I don't think that I can pick. Currently, the Beyonce song on my rotation that I'm listening to all the time is 16 Carriages. But my favorite Beyonce song of all time, Oh Boy. It changes throughout the years.
Yeah, it depends on my mood.
Yeah, it was really hard to pick one. I think I just kind of picked one.
You know, I also really like Sandcastles from Lemonade. That one's really good. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna go with that one.
I went with If I Were a Boy. Because only for the pure reason that was like one of the first songs like I really fell in love with from her. The notes of feminism behind it.
If I were a boy, I'd do it better than you.
It's an impossible question.
I know.
It really is.
It's an impossible question. I'm like, I could maybe narrow it down to each album, but even then, it's like some albums, it's like the whole album's my favorite.
Yeah.
So Janelle's answer is the whole album is my favorite.
My answer is all of them. Every last one of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I will say an honorable mention is probably like Love on Top or Countdown. Both of them are on 4. Mm-hmm. They're just
Love on Top, those modulations at the I was listening to it the other day and singing along, and I was just like, oh my God.
And Up. And she did it live. She
did
and then announced she was pregnant. She
Honestly,
did it live.
Back to the
I was listening to it last night, and David was like, I think she could go higher. I'm like, yeah, shut up.
But also, because the Sasha Fierce I Am live album, Hello, is so good. So good. There's like this whole section where Nikki on the drums does like this whole like drum solo, and it's anyway, so that one's really great.
Okay.
Is it my favorite? I don't know.
Well, we have now talked about Beyonce for 2 hours.
Yes.
I could go further.
We could go longer, but we have to wrap this up. Before we go, we let our guest pick who we are talking about next. So drum roll. Which female artist are we talking about next?
The only one I can think to say is Brandi Carlile.
Ooh.
I'm down. We will talk about Brandi. We all know that I'm down for some Brandi.
Yeah.
I'm never going to say no to Brandi. She was actually going to be our first podcast, and then I put it on hold because I was waiting to see if there was going to be more news about her album with Elton John. But
I pick someone else.
No, that's okay, because we haven't heard anything about it yet, and it's Brandi.
Okay.
So, yes.
If you want to wait. If you want to say that.
But thank you so much for joining us. Join us next time. We will be talking about Brandi. Join us on the Bass Blown Discord as we listen to the album when it comes out. We will put date and time in the description as well as a link to the Discord. So come hang out with us and we will listen to some Cowboy Carter.
Yeah.
Beyonce.
I can't wait.
Yeehaw.
Woo! Yeehaw! See you guys next time.
So go high.